You ever see a koi pond explode at 3 in the morning? I have. And I don't mean a little splash. I mean the damn thing erupted like Old Faithful, shooting a geyser right over the HOA clubhouse and dumping a river of tan mulch that surfed down Juniper Crossing straight into 30 identical garages. If you're wondering, I was out there in flip-flops, standing by the catch basin, the board beautified with fairy lights and river rocks, watching those lights float away, blinking like constellations in a galaxy made by idiots. Sirens started wailing, people were screaming, sprinklers clicked on like nothing was wrong because, the timers don't care if your garage is full of pond water. It was a rainforest out there. My name's Elliot Crane. I'm not some big shot. I'm a quiet guy, homeowner, weekend woodworker, and a civil engineer by trade. I'm one of those folks who gets excited when things slope in the right direction. I bought this house for the tree-lined streets, and because my shop fits perfectly in the back of my garage, that is if nobody parks like a Tetris reject. Life was peaceful, at least until Gretchen Lyall became HOA president. You want to talk about optics? Gretchen's got a visor so wide it gets its own sunrise. She's the type who uses the word aesthetic when picking mailbox colors, the kind who thinks drainage is a vibe, not an engineering discipline. Her board just spent our entire reserve fund on a 3-tier fountain and a pergola described in the newsletter as Instagram forward. The line item for stormwater maintenance deferred, of course. Looking back, I should have known we were heading for disaster the minute I saw that spreadsheet. But hey, I'm an engineer, not a psychic. I deal in slopes, facts, and gravity. Gretchen deals in curb appeal and whatever gets the most likes from strangers. About 2 months back, I started noticing the median swale was filling in like someone was trying to flatten the world. Turned out the landscapers were dumping extra dirt to make it level. So I did what engineers do. I sent Gretchen a polite email with diagrams, arrows, and a few magic words like design conveyance and a 100-year storm. She replied with, "Thanks, Elliot. We prefer a flat aesthetic." I read that 3 times, honest, just to make sure I wasn't missing some inside joke. But no, she really thought she could override hydrology with personal taste. Then, just to really make the water gods angry, the board plugged up a curb cut with decorative cobbles to stop what Gretchen called unsightly flows. They put fake turf over a graded storm inlet because the green reads so fresh. Her cousin, a contractor with more dreams than permits, built an earthen berm behind the clubhouse to terrace the event lawn. Translation, they built a dirt dam right across the only overland relief path. Watching all this in real time, I felt like the only guy at a birthday party who knows the magician is about to set his own hat on fire. I walked the whole neighborhood, took photos, and wrote up a 3-page memo with contour maps and flow calcs because I know how to have a good time. I referenced the county drainage master plan, printed out copies for every board member, sent one by certified mail just to leave a trail. And for good measure, showed up at the next board meeting and asked for 5 minutes to present. Gretchen just smiled at me like I was a confused child holding a frog. "We appreciate your passion, Elliot," she said, "but we have professionals handling this." The professionals turned out to be her cousin with a backhoe and a Pinterest account. Next day, Gretchen posted on the neighborhood app that I was fear-mongering for attention and folks should trust the process. Some neighbors liked her post and said things like, "Some people just can't handle change." One lady suggested I take up yoga. Well, the process included a leaf collection day where the landscapers blew half of autumn straight into the storm grates, then everyone posed with pumpkin spice lattes for the Facebook page. You bet I saved screenshots. I knew where this was going. By late October, the rain came, not Noah's Ark stuff, but a good old-fashioned monsoon with nothing better to do. That new berm turned the clubhouse lawn into a kiddie pool, then a bathtub, then a toilet with ambition. Water looked for the blocked curb cut, hit the cobbles, shrugged, and decided to go house shopping. Water's funny that way. It doesn't negotiate, doesn't read newsletters. At 1:38 a.m., Gretchen called me, first time ever. She was screaming, accusing me of tampering with the drains. Her voice, normally as crisp as her visor, was pure panic. In the background, I heard water roaring and what sounded like a car alarm. I told her calmly to pull the fairy lights off the inlet and take the cobbles out of the curb cut. She threatened to call the police, said I'd be liable for the damages. I just asked if she had flood insurance. She hung up. So I texted our city stormwater hotline, attached my memo photos, and the certified mail receipt. Basically, I went full petty superhero. The city inspector replied with the 3 sweetest words in public works: on my way. I threw on jeans, boots, grabbed my pump and flashlight, and went outside. By then, the street was a river. Neighbors were stumbling around in pajamas, holding phones and looking confused. Somebody asked, "Is this normal?" I said, "No," but it was predictable. Inspector showed up in a yellow slicker, looking like a disappointed math teacher. One look at the cobbled curb cut the fake turf over the grate and the decorative berm, and he just laughed. Not a nice laugh, the kind of laugh that says, "I've seen this before, and it never ends well." Out came his citation pad like a sword. He issued an emergency order: remove all obstructions, open every inlet, clear debris immediately. Gretchen tried to defend her vision with a landscaping plan that smelled like Canva. The inspector asked for permits. There weren't any. Of course not. You can't get a permit for treating stormwater infrastructure like a Pinterest board. He radioed Public Works for a vacuum truck and texted code enforcement. Neighbors waited outside, clutching storage bins and whatever dignity they could salvage. I dragged my portable pump to 3 garages, showing a couple of teenagers how to pry up grates without losing fingers or friendships. By sunrise, Public Works had piled up confiscated cobbles like evidence at a mafia trial. The koi were unionizing in someone's foyer. Gretchen. She was learning that optics look very different under fluorescent tape and a clipboard. She stood there in her designer rain boots, which I'm pretty sure had never seen actual weather, watching the city dismantle her vision. Her famous visor sagged in the rain, and for the first time, Gretchen was quiet. We held the emergency HOA meeting in the elementary school gym, since our clubhouse was still technically a lake. Folding chairs, wet socks, the mood was pure mutiny. Over 200 people showed up, which was triple our usual crowd. Folks had photos of ruined furniture, soggy drywall, destroyed stuff. One woman held up a soaked wedding album. Some guy in the back waved an itemized list of damages like it was the Declaration of Independence. The inspector put my memo up on one projector and Gretchen's newsletter, Elliot's Alarmism versus Our Vision, on another. It was brutal. Then he read city code about tampering with stormwater facilities. Every violation carried a $500 per day fine. There were 6 violations. You could see people doing the math. Then came the receipts, invoices to Lyle Family Outdoor Concepts, her cousin's company. A line item for aesthetic infill. An email from Gretchen to the landscaper's cap that curb cut so puddles stop in front of the model homes. Buyers hate puddles. The treasurer, suddenly pale, confirmed that our reserve fund was down to $812 and 3 jars of koi food. Someone started crying in the back. The board called a vote right there to remove Gretchen as president. It was unanimous, minus 1 abstention from Gretchen, who looked too stunned to raise her hand either way. Code enforcement hit the HOA with civil penalties. The city's risk management folks said the HOA's insurance was voided for unapproved modifications. The room got real quiet when someone mentioned a special assessment. People hissed like cats. A judge ordered repairs under oversight by a licensed engineer. Guess who? Community service for every board officer who approved the changes. Gretchen, 200 hours cleaning storm grates in a vest that said water flows downhill. She was barred from serving on any HOA board in the county for 10 years and had to pay restitution for all the fines racked up by her flat aesthetic. Total bill, $42,000. Her cousin's contract got the axe. The berm died in a backhoe bucket. The koi found a new home in the elementary school science room. The kids named the big one Gretcha. When the judge read the sentence, Gretchen's face cycled through all 5 stages of grief in about 10 seconds. Denial, anger, bargaining with words that made no sense, depression in her shoulders. Then finally, this weird hollow acceptance. She opened her mouth to argue, but nothing came out. Her lawyer touched her arm. She sat down hard and stared at the table. Someone in the gallery whispered, "That's what you get." So here's my question for you. When does aesthetic cross the line into arrogance? Should the folks making the rules have to live with the fallout, literally? And if you've ever seen your neighbor's koi surfing through your garage at 3 in the morning, well, you tell me, where do you draw the line between vision and pure, unfiltered nonsense? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to hear your HOA horror stories, your take on justice, or even your ideas for keeping water flowing where it belongs. And hey, if you're still listening, hit that subscribe, smash the like, and share this with someone who needs a laugh or a good reason to check their drains. You know what I mean?